Greed can be a powerful ally.
Hey guys, welcome back to another Master Anakin Kenobi video. Today we will be reimagining and adding a part 2 to one of my most popular fan fictions from way back in 2021 when I started my channel. I hope you guys will enjoy it, so with that, sit back, relax, and watch the very fate of the galaxy unfold and do a complete 180, for better or for worse, before our favorite character's very eyes. Order 66 was enacted right after Anakin betrayed Mace Windu. It was an order that Palpatine gave to make the clones turn on and attack their Jedi generals. In the original Revenge of the Sith timeline, this order killed almost every Jedi across the galaxy. In today's fanfiction, we will be giving you guys a different, yet what I believe is a more realistic outcome. Jedi Knights are very in tune with the Force, as we all know. They can sense things before they happen, just as Master Yoda did this before his clones turned on him during the Battle of Kashyyyk. This means that many of the Jedi Knights and Masters strung across the galaxy would have been surely able to see this attack coming before it even happened. In our new timeline, countless Jedi, including most of the Council, would survive, and many others would as well. Of course, Mace Windu had already been killed by Palpatine, and several other Jedi would still be killed due to the pure skill and training of the clones. Anakin would continue on his rampage at the temple, killing many Jedi and younglings. Luckily, many of the council members were all on missions away from the temple. After these events, Anakin would travel to Mustafar to wipe out the separatist leaders, just as in the original timeline. After the clone attack, all of the Jedi Council would return to the temple. They would then see the security recordings of Anakin killing younglings and the other Jedi strung across the temple. They would split up into two groups. Masters Yoda, Tin Kolar, and Fisto would engage the Chancellor. Plo Koon and Obi-Wan would travel to Mustafar to confront Anakin. The two would sneak onto Padme's ship on its way to Mustafar, while the others would confront Palpatine in his office. As soon as Padme's ship landed, the same conversation had commenced as in the original timeline. This leads up to Obi-Wan and Plo Koon emerging from the ship and greatly upsetting Anakin. Anakin would then proceed to force choke Padme, but Plo would be much quicker to react and force push Anakin away from her. Padme would quickly get up and run back to Obi-Wan and Plo. They would then proceed to tell her to stay on the ship while they confront Anakin. Tears were continuously running down her face. She still couldn't believe that her husband, Anakin Skywalker, had shifted and suddenly become a person she could no longer recognize. Master Yoda, you survived.
Surprised?
Your arrogance blinds you, Master Yoda, and your pitiful Jedi Order. All of the Jedi, with Yoda leading them, would simultaneously ignite their blue and green sabers, readying themselves for what would perhaps be the most intense and difficult duel any of them could have ever comprehended. As for Palpatine, he would be much more patient to react in this timeline now that he was facing not only Master Yoda, but some of the most powerful members of the Jedi Council. Surely none of them would ever come close to beating him alone, but together and with the Grand Master of the Jedi Order, they would surely rival him. He would have to be much more cautious and take out the weakest two links first. Palpatine would then ignite his crimson red blade and perform the same force scream he did in the original timeline, only this time it would fail, due to the pure speed and precision of Master Yoda being very quick to step forward and block the attack.
At an end your rule is, and not short enough it was.
Darth Vader will become more powerful than either of us.
Faith in your new apprentice misplaced, maybe, as is your faith in the dark side of the Force.
Yoda then proceeds to force push Palpatine back, and then all four of the Jedi would move forward and attack him. The fiery planet of Mustafar loomed large in the backdrop, its molten rivers flowing like veins of fire across the landscape. Anakin Skywalker, now Darth Vader, stood there with his royal blue lightsaber ignited, the glow casting an ominous hue on his noble, yet now menacing features. Opposite him, his former mentor, Obi-Wan Kenobi, stood ready, his blue blade humming with contained power. But it is the unexpected appearance of Master Plo Koon that had shifted the balance of this fateful encounter to be much different than the original timeline. Anakin's eyes were narrow amongst the vast volcanic ash and smoke as Plo Koon emerged from the billowing smoke, his lightsaber held in a defensive stance. Without a word, the three warriors would launch into a dizzying whirl of lightsaber strikes and force-enhanced acrobatics. Plo Koon, with his precise and calculated moves, holds his own against the formidable Chosen One. His mastery of the Force is evident in the way he anticipates their every strike, countering with swift and elegant parries. Yet even as he fights with all the skill of a Jedi Master, the dark power emanating from the Chosen One is palpable. Obi-Wan, his face a mask of ultimate determination, engaged Anakin together with Plo Koon in an extremely fierce duel. Their blades clashed and sizzled, casting sparks that illuminated the volcanic landscape. Each strike would be met with a counter, each move being countered with an equal and opposite force. Anakin, fueled by the raw power of the dark side, was fighting with a ferocity that was both awe-inspiring and terrifying. His movements a blur of smoky blue as he presses the attack, driving Obi-Wan back with a series of punishing blows. Meanwhile, Plo Koon finds himself hard-pressed to defend against the might of the Chosen One and his new dark side powers. Anakin's rage-fueled strikes coming at him like a storm, forcing him to retreat step by step. With a sudden burst of speed, Anakin closed the distance between them, his lightsaber whirling in a deadly dance. Plo Koon had fought valiantly, his blue blade a shining beacon of Jedi resolve. But in a moment of hesitation, a fraction of a second too slow, Plo Koon had left himself open. Anakin would seize this opportunity with ruthless efficiency, his lightsaber plunging deep into Plo Koon's chest. Time seemed to slow as Plo Koon's eyes would widen in shock, the realization of his imminent demise dawning too late. The Jedi Master staggered backwards, his hand clutching at the smoking wound. "Anakin, no!" Obi-Wan's anguished cry echoed across the fiery landscape as he watched helplessly. Enraged by the loss of his comrade, Obi-Wan had started to redouble his efforts, his blade a blur of blue as he attacked with a renewed ferocity. Anakin met him blow for blow, their sabers ringing out in a symphony of clashing metal. The two former friends turned bitter enemies were evenly matched, their skills honed by years of training together. Each knows the other's moves, anticipating and countering with deadly precision. Their duel takes them to the very edge of a molten river. The heat intenses as waves of lava lap at the rocky shore. Anakin's eyes burn with hatred as he lashes out, his strikes fueled by the dark side. Obi-Wan's face, a mask of sorrow and determination, started to fight with all the skill and wisdom of a true Jedi Master. He knew that he could not defeat Anakin, yet only delay the inevitable. Anakin would then jump onto a platform. He and Obi-Wan would continue fighting, only flashes of blue visible to the naked eye. Palpatine was outmatched. He had to kill one of them soon, or this battle would soon come to an unceremonious end. The Dark Lord of the Sith would quickly thrust forward and hurl Force Lightning at Yoda. After this ferocious attack, he would proceed to force push Master Fisto against the wall. Here was his chance to kill the two weakest Jedi, Tin and Kolar. He quickly moves forward and thrusts his crimson blade through Tin's chest. His very next move is against Kolar. Anakin Kolar was a very skilled and wise Jedi Master, but no match for the mightiest Sith Lord the galaxy had ever known, Darth Sidious. Palpatine quickly disposes of Kolar with a unique flip with his surprisingly maneuverable body and a twist of his crimson red saber, and before Yoda's very eyes, the chest of his longtime friend would be pierced. As his friend fell to the floor, Yoda started to reach a new level of determination. Sidious's next move would be against Master Tin, but he would not be able to take him out just yet, as Yoda and Fisto had just recovered from Palpatine's previous attacks. Anakin and Obi-Wan are almost evenly matched, but not for long as Anakin's powers were increasing tenfold by the second. Obi-Wan would have to do something quickly if he was going to have any chance at winning this fight. But suddenly he thought to himself, was there any hope left for his dear friend? As he jumped off of a large structure onto a robot, hovering just mere inches above the molten lava river, Obi-Wan would have limited time to think and not just fight. Suddenly, Obi-Wan heard something. Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan. No, it couldn't be. He had to be hallucinating. Obi-Wan, the boy is the chosen one. He will bring balance. Obi-Wan called out his old master's name, only to hear no response. Suddenly, he realized that Qui-Gon was right, and that Anakin may have been as well. But Palpatine had manipulated all of them. Surely Anakin could come to his senses and realize that. Only mere seconds had passed, although it seemed as if it were a lifetime for Obi-Wan. Before he could contemplate what he should do any further, Anakin launched himself forward, his blade piercing through the air, directly aimed at Obi-Wan. The two Force users would engage in a final standoff, one of extremely close proximity at that. Their lightsabers twisted and twirled in an extremely fast motion, but suddenly the two would come into a stalemate, their blue sabers locked together. In just mere seconds, Obi-Wan would detach his lightsaber and then jump off of the platform and attain the high ground. "Anakin, look what you've done! You've betrayed everyone who has ever cared about you. The Chancellor is evil. Once he has what he wants, he will destroy you, just as he let Maul and Dooku be killed. Anakin, you must listen. What would Qui-Gon say?" Suddenly, the Chosen One's fiery yellow-red eyes turned back to a bright blue. Obi-Wan's words had worked, and it was all thanks to his patience and understanding of the situation at hand. Anakin would deactivate his saber and jump to the area where he had previously burned in the original timeline. Obi-Wan would then proceed to deactivate his saber. "Master, you're right. I now realize that I have become the very thing I swore to destroy. I just thought he could teach me how to save Padme's life." "Anakin, you almost killed her yourself. You must realize that Palpatine tricked you into doing everything he wanted. He has manipulated not only you, but the rest of the galaxy, along with the Senate and the Jedi, into playing his game." "You're right. I now realize that the Chancellor is evil. We must get back to Coruscant if we're going to stop him." Anakin and Obi-Wan then used Force speed to get back to Padme's ship, where she, 3PO, and R2 were waiting for them. They would then blast off into hyperspace and set course for Coruscant. Palpatine was losing strength. Master Fisto was barely getting any strikes in, as the eye could only see flashes of red and green. Palpatine would then conjure his Force scream one last time, emanating so much energy that the whole office shook with it. Fisto was suddenly knocked off of his feet, and this enabled Palpatine to rush forward and decapitate the Jedi Master's head clean off of his body. Master Yoda moved off of the floor once again, and began another one-on-one duel with Palpatine. He could no longer worry about any of his fellow Jedi. Yoda and Palpatine, two titans of the Force, were now preparing to face off in the dimly lit confines of the Chancellor's office. The air crackled with tension as their eyes met, each recognizing the depth of power in the other. The room was filled with relics of Palpatine's influence, ancient Sith artifacts, dark holocrons, and twisted statues that had been gifted to him by Darth Plagueis. It was a stark contrast to Yoda's serene presence, his green lightsaber humming softly in the darkness. Without a word, they would begin their clash, the vibrant blades of each character casting eerie shadows across the room. Yoda, small in stature but immense in power, moved with a speed and agility that defied his age. He leapt forward, his blade a blur as he struck at Palpatine with a flurry of attacks. The Sith Lord, however, is no slow slouch. He meets each strike with a calculated parry, his red saber dancing with a malevolent grace. The clash of their sabers echoed through the chamber, a symphony of light and darkness. Yoda pressed forward relentlessly, his every movement a masterful display of the Force. He flipped, spun, and twirled, always seeking an opening in Palpatine's defenses. Palpatine, the Dark Lord of the Sith, now known as Darth Sidious. His face was twisted in a sinister grin, meeting Yoda's onslaught with a mixture of cunning and brute strength. He countered each of Yoda's acrobatic maneuvers with raw power, his attacks driving the Jedi Master back toward the edge of the room. With a sudden burst of speed, Yoda launched himself at Palpatine, flipping over the Sith Lord's head and landing behind him. Before Palpatine could react, Yoda delivered a series of lightning-fast strikes, aiming for the dark heart of his opponent. But Palpatine was no easy prey. He whirled around, blocking each strike with a snarl of rage. With a powerful kick, he sent Yoda crashing into a nearby table, sending artifacts and debris flying in all directions. Undeterred from this attack, Yoda sprung back to his feet, his eyes never leaving Palpatine's. With a wave of his hand, he sent the remnants of the table hurling towards the Sith Lord, forcing Palpatine to deflect the debris with a burst of telekinetic energy. The room was alive with the clash of their powers, the air vibrating with the intensity of their battle. Yoda and Palpatine are locked in a deadly dance, each of them moving with a calculated risk, each strike a step towards victory or defeat. Suddenly, Palpatine unleashed a torrent of dark energy, a wave of malevolence that threatened to overwhelm Yoda. The Jedi Master gritted his teeth, summoning all of his strength to hold back the dark side. With the defiant roar, Yoda pushed back against the darkness, his own aura of light shining brightly in the face of Palpatine's evil. The room shook with the force of their clash, the walls groaning under the strain of their power. In a final, desperate gambit, Palpatine channeled the full extent of his dark-side power in a devastating Force lightning attack. The crackling bolts of energy lashed out towards Yoda, threatening to consume him in their seeming embrace. But Yoda, ever wise and ever resilient, raised his lightsaber high. With a roar of defiance, he absorbed the brunt of the lightning into his blade and hands, the energy crackling and sizzling as it coursed through his veins and the room. For a moment, time seemed to stand still as Yoda and Palpatine were locked in a battle of wills. The room was bathed in a blinding light, the air heavy with the scent of ozone and burning metal. And then, with a mighty shout, Yoda channeled all of his strength into one final, devastating strike. His lightsaber crashed down upon Palpatine's, their blades meeting with a blinding flash of light.
Under arrest you are, Chancellor.
Anakin, I told you it'd come to this. The Jedi are taking over! Anakin and Obi-Wan had arrived just in time to destroy the Sith, once and for all. You're a liar. I can see now that you are evil. You have manipulated me since I was a small boy, and the galaxy will not fall for your tricks anymore. Palpatine would boil over with anger and rage, shooting Force lightning everywhere. Yoda would then block it in with his small hands and throw it back onto Palpatine, but it overwhelmed him this time much more than before. But suddenly, Anakin turned his lightsaber on, would then proceed to cut the Chancellor's hands off and finally end the darkness by slicing through the Sith Lord's abdomen, destroying the Sith once and for all, and finally fulfilling the Chosen One prophecy, just as Master Qui-Gon had foreseen. And that is the end of today's fanfiction, everyone. I hope you all enjoyed the new and improved version of this very interesting fanfiction. Thank you guys for watching. Please be sure to comment down below what you would like to see happen in part 2 of this new and improved fanfiction. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe, because we have just surpassed 2,000 subscribers, and I will be doing a giveaway very soon. And I can't thank you guys enough for giving me this opportunity to tell amazing stories from the faraway galaxy that we all cherish and love. Once again, thank you guys for watching, and as always,